What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alolan DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. In the last episode we covered the pure grass type Lorantis, and I gave you a choice of two Alolan forms. It was Alolan Ninetales, the Ice Fairy, or Alolan Executor, the Grass Dragon, and Ninetales came out on top. So that's who we'll be covering today. But for next episode we have two sort of bulkier Pokemon from Generation 7. We have Gumshoes and we have Mudsdale. Both have lost their votes in the past, but who will win this time? Let me know by either commenting Gumshoes or Mudsdale down below in the comment section, and the one with most votes will win and be covered in the next episode. But for now, let's jump in and have a look at Alolan Ninetales. It's number 38 in the National Pokédex, is the Fox Pokemon, and as I mentioned, in its Alolan form, an Ice Fairy type. It stands at 3 foot 7 inches or 1.1 meters tall and weighs 43.9 pounds or 19.9 kilograms. It's in the field egg group, and the male-female split is actually 25% male, 75% female, so it's leaning more towards the female side here. In terms of evolution-wise, Alolan Vulpix will evolve into Alolan Ninetales by using an Ice Stone rather than a Fire Stone. Base stats then, let's have a look at Alolan Ninetales' base stats, and we see that speed is the highest at 109, special defense is next at 100, and then further down we have special attack at 81, defense at 75, health points at 73, and then finally attack at 67. So obviously not a physical attacker, more of a special attacker, but generally its stats aren't amazing. You know, it has good speed, it has good special defense, cool, but that's sort of a very weird category to be in, because what's the good point of having really good speed if all you can do is take hits? It actually can deal some decent damage, but as we'll see later on, it's sort of got a niche in some other aspects. Ability wise, there are two available for Alolan Ninetales. The first of these is Snow Cloak, which boosts evasion in a hailstorm. Now usually you wouldn't be using this ability because evasion is really not sort of a mechanic we like using, and the hidden ability is much better anyway, which summons a hailstorm when you enter battle in Snow Warning, and this is much better because of course you get the hailstorm come up, and obviously it hurts anyone that's not an ice type, and it can boost up Blizzard and stuff like that, so it's pretty good in that sense. So the typing, Ice Fairy, is it good, is it bad? Well, let's see. It resists 3 types, which is Bug, Ice and Dark, but it's actually weak to 4. Fire, Poison, Rock and Steel, including the 4 times weakness to Steel. That's very big for Alolan Ninetales. It hasn't got very good physical defense anyway, and the majority of Steel type moves are physical, which means that's just going to completely destroy Ninetales in this case. It is immune to Dragon, however, which is pretty good, taking use from all the other types. So generally, coupled with its low physical defense and 4 weaknesses, including one of the 4 times, it's not the best, since you know, a Steel type move could take you out. You know, a Sizor Bullet Punch could probably take you out fairly easily. So you have to really watch and be careful there. In terms of, you know, defensive, but Ice Fairy, it's a fairly good offensive ability, offensive typing, but it could be better, I suppose. So the moves you might want to think about using on Alolan Ninetales. First up, we're just going to go straight into TMs here. There are no level up moves here, so you don't have to worry about what level you evolve your Vulpix at. We have TM for Calm Mind, now being a special attacker as well as having really good special defense. Calm Mind is definitely a bonus here. You just have to bear in mind that it's not going to help the physical defense at all, and that's something you have to be careful of. You know, don't actually engage any physical attackers, basically. Next is TM10 Hidden Power. One downside to Ninetales is the lack of coverage. It learns Ice type moves, Fairy type moves, and apart from that, it's not going to get access to Fire. It's not going to get access to any other special moves basically. So Hidden Power is really your next option there. Then we have TM14. As I mentioned, this is Blizzard, and it gets 100% accuracy in a hailstorm. And since we'll mostly be using Snow Warning, it's definitely something you want to think about running for Ninetales. 110 base power, 100 accuracy in the hail, as I mentioned, which is pretty damn good. Of course, you have to bear in mind after a few turns the hail will run out, and you'll have to deal with that 70%. But generally, I don't think Ninetales is going to last that long, so you'll be fine switching in and out if need be. Then one final TM is Aurora Veil, a new move for Generation 7. Now what this does is it reduces damage done to both the user and the allies, the rest of your team basically, from special and physical moves for 5 turns, or up to 8 if it's like clay held sort of thing. It's basically a reflect and a light screen at once, which is pretty damn cool. The downside to this is it can be only used during hail, but the effect can last afterwards as well. So it's really good for Ninetales to use, since hail appears when Ninetales enters battle, and it can use Aurora Veil on the first turn before having to use a hail and setting it up itself. So it's pretty good in that sense. Definitely something you want to think about using on Ninetales, and definitely sort of a very good thing, because obviously you halve the damage from physical moves. That's pretty good because you already have bad defense anyway. So we then have some egg moves. The first of these is Encore. This can be used to lock someone into, a non-offensive move. For example, they could be using Swords Dance. You can Encore them, they're stuck in that move for a few turns, and then you can use that opportunity to take them out if they're using Swords Dance, for example. It's really quite a good opportunity for you, I suppose. Then we have Freeze Dry. This is an alternative to Blizzard because it does less damage, it's only 70 base power, but it is super effective against water types, which would otherwise completely wall you apart from your fairy type moves. So for example, Pelipper, 4 times weak to Freeze Dry, pretty damn good. So it's definitely an alternative to Blizzard. One final move is that fairy type stab we have, and that is Moonblast. Obviously the strongest fairy type move, 95 base power, definitely better running in like this than Dazzling Gleam, for example. So if anything, really run Moonblast basically. So those are the moves for Ninetales. We've only got one set to look at because I think if you're going to use an Alolan Ninetales in competitive, there's really one use for it, because otherwise it's outclassed by other Pokemon basically. And that's Aurora Veil. So obviously the moveset is going to start off with that. Then we have Freeze Dry or Blizzard, followed by Moonblast, and then Hidden Power or Encore. Ability, of course, is going to be Snow Warning to get that hail up, and the nature is going to be a Timid to make us even faster. The held item, you have a bit of a choice here. You have Light Clay, Leftovers, or an Icy Rock, as we'll look at in a minute. So EV-wise, we have maximum special attack and speed, because we want to be as fast as we can, and we have special attacks, might as well boost them a bit more. And the last few in physical defense, just to boost that up a little more so you can survive a few more hits. Even with the terrible defense, once Aurora Veil is up, you will basically have double defense, so it's pretty good in that sense. So we have obviously move-wise Aurora Veil, because that's the main pivot of this set, main point of this set. Freeze Dry Blizzard, as mentioned, is just an option really. Freeze Dry will be able to hit water types for super effective damage, whereas Blizzard will be more powerful against most things, but we'll obviously have to use Moonblast for any water types that come up. Moonblast is also the next one for that Fairy Stab, and then the last choice, Hidden Power or Encore, depends whether you want to use this as, set Aurora Veil up and then be offensive with Ninetales, or set Aurora Veil up, be supportive with Ninetales and let other Pokemon do the hard hitting. If you want to be offensive, Hidden Power is there for you to get a Hidden Power on. In terms of what type you want to be, you have Fire, Rock and Steel, which are all your weaknesses, or 75% of your weaknesses, so a Ground type Hidden Power might be pretty good, or just a Fire type one, just to be able to hit those Steel types for a lot of damage, because otherwise they are going to cause you some decent issues. If you use an Encore, of course that's more of a supportive one. You can take the opportunity if you switch in, the opponent just used, for example, Swords Dance, you say, I'm going to Encore, boom, Encore goes up, and then you could, for example, they're locked in for a few turns, so you can say, I'm going to Blizzard them, hit them for a lot of damage, say that they're fairly low health, so they're going to die from hail next turn, then you can Aurora Veil, you've got that set up, that Pokemon dies, they haven't actually done anything at all to you because they were stuck in Encore, and they would have had to switch out otherwise. Just gives you basically extra time to do stuff. Hence why we have held items, again, aid the choice of how you want to use the set. Light Clay will extend the duration of Aurora Veil, as I mentioned, from 5 to 8 turns. So if you want to take advantage of that, possibly if you're using Ninetales in a more offensive way, you'll definitely want to take advantage of it, because otherwise Ninetales is just like a piece of glass waiting to be smashed. Or if you want to take advantage of it with other members of your team, so other things again are fairly frail, you can use Light Clay. Leftovers will allow you to be more supportive for longer basically, so if you're not going for an offensive one, you go for a slightly more supportive, you have the option to get some slow health regeneration. Not that it will help in the long term, because a few strong attacks will take you out, but with Aurora Veil up, you'll be able to resist some decent moves, decent damage there. And the last option is Icy Rock, which will extend the duration of the hail you generate, of course, which is good if you want to make more use of that in terms of Blizzard and such. So you have a few options there in terms of held item, whether you want to be offensive and use Blizzard a lot, to get all those hails up or whatnot. So it depends on how you want to use it in the rest of your team, basically. But generally, I've gone over how you use the set. You go in, you switch in, your Aurora Veil basically first turn, unless they have just used a really bad move, and you can Encore them. And then, basically just go, say they use Dragon Claw. Probably better if you can Encore them into that, because then that means they have to sit in and use Dragon Claw over and over and over and not do any damage to you. Or they switch out, basically. So, but apart from that, you want to be using Aurora Veil first turn most of the time to get that extra defense and special defense, so you're not being taken out in a turn or two, basically. So once that's up, you can then say, right, well, I'm either being offensive with Ninetales. I've got Light Clay, for example, so I can keep that up for even longer, and you can start freeze drying or moonblasting or blizzarding, depending on your opponent. Or you can say, right, that's the job done. Boom, I'm switching out. I'm going to go to, another Pokemon that could possibly not take damage from hail, so a Bomb of Snow, maybe Mega Bomb of Snow, if that doesn't What do you think? I don't know. And you can take advantage of the boosted defenses to actually set up on your opponent, and then go ahead and use that forward. Apart from that, yeah, that's really it. That's how you use Ninetales. You just set Aurora Veil up with it because it's the best Aurora Veil user out of all the ones currently available. So really, that's its niche there. That's Ninetales for you. But that is going to be it for that Alolan form this episode. Do not forget to vote for next episode's Pokemon. We have Gumshoos or we have Mudsdale. Normal type or ground type. Let me know which let's see covered by commenting down below with Gumshoos or Mudsdale. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today, so I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.